My name is Olivia Reed, and my heart carries a secret that could change everything. At 24, I find myself nestled in a quaint apartment, right in the vibrant pulse of the city, where every corner whispers secrets of longing and desire. I'm not entirely sure how to capture the essence of who I am. Perhaps just a fleeting moment, hidden away from the world. In the quiet hours of the weekend, I immerse myself in the familiar glow of old TV shows, pondering if this mundane routine is all that life has in store for me. My days at the graphic design firm blend into a longing for something more, something that dances just out of reach. It hardly evokes any sense of wonder, does it? Yet, if there's one truth that lingers in the shadows of my heart, it's the complicated bond I share with my mother, Victoria Hayes, or rather, the void that defines it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, allowing me to weave more captivating tales that tug at the heartstrings, just like this one. And be sure to stay with us until the very end of this video and show your support by liking it, for this tale is bound to captivate your heart in ways you never expected. Your support means the world to me. Please give that like button a gentle tap. Victoria has always prioritized her own desires over the feelings of those around her. She captivates with her beauty and vibrant spirit, effortlessly drawing the gaze of everyone around her the moment she steps into a room. As I navigated my youth, my heart quietly yearned for her presence. In the beginning, I longed to emulate her, captivated by her charm. Yet, as time passed, that admiration twisted into something darker, revealing the stark truth of her self absorption and the emptiness of her affections for others. It's difficult to escape the sting of disappointment, yet that is the truth of the matter. Victoria was not the type of mother who prepared school lunches or asked about your day. She was the one who hosted extravagant gatherings, yet somehow your special day slipped through her fingers unnoticed. She glided from one connection to the next as effortlessly as slipping into a new dress, forever in pursuit of the next heart that could offer her the adoration she longed for. That was the moment James stepped into our world. I was just 16 when Victoria became his bride. He was her fourth husband, a steady presence amidst the chaos that surrounded her, igniting a spark of longing in her heart. At first, he was an enigma, stirring feelings I couldn't quite understand. He exuded a calm confidence, his kindness wrapped in an air of mystery that kept her at arm's length. He stood apart from the rest, quiet and unassuming, not seeking to dazzle or win anyone over. He was a constant presence, unwavering and reliable, and for a young woman who had seen the tumult of her mother's romantic entanglements, that was a welcome breath of fresh air. James regarded me with a reverence that felt entirely new and exhilarating. He became captivated by my passions, urging me to chase my dreams, and even confronted Victoria when she belittled my aspirations. He stepped into my life like a dream, embodying the fatherly love I had longed for. In that moment, I sensed a warmth that told me I was truly cherished. Over time, my admiration for James deepened. I found comfort in his kindness and presence, appreciating the way he supported and encouraged me, how he always had a reassuring presence, a calmness in his gaze that made me feel seen and valued. I convinced myself it was insignificant. He was my stepfather, and yet my heart ached for him, knowing he cherished Victoria. But the truth was, Victoria was not meant for him. She overlooked him, just as she had with all the precious things in her life. Then came the betrayal that shattered their world, leaving them in turmoil. Raya had been the love of my life for 3 unforgettable years. Our paths crossed in college, where a deep connection blossomed, and we dared to dream of a shared future. At least that was my belief. When I discovered his betrayal, it was as if the very foundation of my heart had crumbled beneath me. I spent countless hours in my room, tears streaming down my face, lost in a whirlwind of emotions, wondering where I had gone astray. But as the ache began to diminish, it was supplanted by a different sensation altogether: passion. Not just at Raya, but at my mother, as if the weight of unspoken desires hung heavily in the air between us. Victoria had always been swift to highlight my flaws, to draw attention to my imperfections, and to measure me against her own standards. She had a way of making me feel small, as if I could never measure up to her brilliance. Now, in the solitude of my cramped apartment, nursing a heart that ached with longing, I understood that I was finished allowing her to hold power over me. I was uncertain of my desires, yet my heart yearned for a specific place, a secret haven where dreams dared to intertwine. I sent a message to Victoria, letting her know I would be arriving for dinner. She was exhilarated, not out of true longing for my presence, but because she reveled in the art of being the ideal hostess. As I crossed the threshold of the house, it was as if I had entered a realm untouched by time, where every glance held a secret and every whisper carried the weight of unspoken desires. The exquisite ambience, the gleaming surfaces, the delicate fragrance of lavender lingering in the air. It was a world apart from the confines of my apartment. Yet it was James who captivated me the most. He welcomed me with a tenderness that sent a flutter through my heart, his smile illuminating his eyes in a way that made my breath catch. As Victoria immersed herself in her culinary creation, lost in her own world, James and I were left in the living room, the air thick with unspoken tension and a sense of longing that neither of us dared to acknowledge. The stillness enveloping us felt intimate, yet it crackled with a tension that neither of us dared to acknowledge. As the evening unfolded, I found myself captivated by the intensity of James's gaze upon me. It was a delicate balance, teetering on the edge of something deeply felt, yet unspoken. There was a softness, a hidden passion that set my heart aflame. What began as a simple brush of fingers, a fleeting gaze that held too much weight, and laughter that echoed in the silence, blossomed into something deeper with each heartbeat. My heart ached for him in a way that left me both exhilarated and uneasy. The pivotal moment arrived one evening when Victoria retired early, leaving James and me in a world of our own. We nestled together on the couch, the flickering light from the fireplace creating an intimate dance of shadows around us. The room. I don't recall the details of our conversation, likely something insignificant, but the intensity of his gaze lingers in my mind. It felt as if he could see into my very soul, beyond the fury and the barriers I had so carefully constructed. His gaze held me captive, unwavering and intense, stirring a vulnerability within me that I hadn't experienced in ages. In a moment of unguarded impulse, I found my hand resting gently on his. He lingered, refusing to break the connection between them. The kiss lingered, hesitant yet filled with unspoken promises, a delicate dance of inquiry and resolution intertwined. We shared a moment of understanding, realizing how much we meant to each other. The kiss haunted my mind, a sweet echo that refused to fade away. A flame ignited within me, banishing the hurt and despair that had enveloped my heart for far too long. Yet, it was more than merely the kiss. It was the way James gazed at me afterward, a look filled with unspoken longing and a hint of danger. There was an undeniable pull between us, an unspoken connection that sent shivers down my spine. I hesitated, my heart racing, as I struggled to comprehend the intensity of the moment we had just shared. His hand lingered on mine, a comforting warmth that felt both thrilling and dangerous. In that fleeting moment, silence enveloped us, heavy with unspoken words. The flickering flames cast shadows that danced around us, amplifying the unspoken tension that hung in the air, a testament to the deep feelings we dared not voice. I should have felt remorse. Instead, I found myself enveloped in a thrilling rush, a dangerous allure that pulled me deeper into the shadows of my heart. Yet, what enveloped me was an unexpected warmth, a deep seated feeling that this was precisely the place I was destined to be. James gave my hand a reassuring squeeze, his expression filled with unspoken words. I gazed into his eyes, yearning for a sign, a whisper of certainty that this path we were treading was not a misstep. And then, in a moment charged with unspoken desire, he leaned in again. This kiss held a weight of longing and secrecy. It was bold and unwavering, infused with a fervor that took my breath away. His hands cradled my face, a perfect blend of strength and tenderness, and I surrendered to him, letting the intensity of the moment envelop me. As we reluctantly drew away from each other, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. My heart raced, urging me to break the silence, to confront the undeniable moment that had just unfolded between us. Yet the words felt utterly insufficient. Instead, I leaned my forehead against his, my eyes fluttering shut as I struggled to steady my breath. I parted my lips to speak, yet he quieted me with a gentle shake of his head. His hand brushed against my shoulder, igniting a warmth within me that had long been dormant. It was an intense bond, a feeling of being genuinely understood and cherished in a manner I had never known I longed for. The next morning, I awoke to a tempest of feelings swirling within me. A part of me longed to linger in that instant, to bask in the safety and warmth of James's embrace, where the world outside faded away. Yet a different part of me quivered with fear. What had I unleashed upon my heart? What did this signify for our connection, for my heart, for his soul, and for my mother's understanding? I distanced myself from Victoria that day, crafting reasons to escape to the solitude of my apartment. In that moment, the weight of my feelings was too much to bear, and I found myself unable to confront her gaze. Not just yet. Each time I shut my eyes, James's face appeared before me, the warmth of his kiss lingered on my lips, and my heart throbbed under the burden of what we had begun. Later that evening, James reached out with a simple message, checking in to see if I was all right. It was a subtle act, yet it sent a rush of emotions through me, leaving my heart racing. His heart was entwined with hers. He always had a way of drawing her in, even when the world around them insisted they should be apart. And now that affection had blossomed into something I couldn't deny. The days that followed were filled with secretive looks and brief, electrifying brushes of skin. I sought every opportunity to linger in the house during Victoria's absence. Each conversation felt more meaningful, deepening our mutual respect and appreciation. One enchanting evening, after Victoria had slipped into a peaceful slumber, I found myself on the back porch, lost in conversation with James. The air was cool, the scent of freshly cut grass intertwining with the delicate aroma of the wine we had been savoring. He reached for my hand, his touch igniting a spark that felt both thrilling and dangerous. I leaned against him, resting my head on his shoulder, and for a fleeting moment, it was as if the entire universe had faded away, leaving just us in our secret haven. What we shared was a heady blend of passion and delicacy. We tread carefully, fully conscious of the boundaries we were approaching. Yet, despite our efforts to resist, the bond between us deepened with each passing moment. One fateful night, as a summer storm unleashed its fury outside, I stood in the kitchen with James, our hearts racing in the charged atmosphere. The lights flickered briefly, the thunder rumbled in the distance, and for a moment, the air between us crackled with an intensity that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. He drew nearer, his fingers lightly grazing mine as he extended his hand toward the counter. I turned to face him, my heart racing as our gazes intertwined, a silent understanding passing between us. Without hesitation, I bridged the distance between us, my lips meeting his in a kiss that was both urgent and gentle. The rain drummed softly against the windows, a melodic backdrop to the intense connection that blossomed between us. His arms wrapped around me, drawing me near as everything beyond faded away. In that fleeting instant, the world around us faded away, leaving only the intensity of our connection. Victoria. The weight of consequences loomed over her, shrouded in the uncertainty of what the future might hold. Nothing else held significance compared to the emotions he stirred within me, yearned for, adored, and vibrant. And as the weeks unfolded, our connection grew more intense. We discovered paths to savor fleeting moments, each meeting brimming with intensity and openness. James became my refuge, a hidden haven amidst the turmoil that surrounded me. Yet with each secret embrace and hushed confession, the burden of our choices became increasingly profound. I started to see the subtle fissures in the delicate illusion we had built together. Though Victoria was blissfully unaware, I sensed that the truth would soon unravel, and the delicate balance we maintained would be shattered. Even as the dangers loomed larger, my heart refused to turn away. James was a secret passion, a connection that transcended the ordinary. He was my secret refuge. He filled a void in my heart that I never knew existed, awakening emotions I thought were forever buried. The days that followed that kiss, amidst the tempest, were filled with an intoxicating mix of desire and fleeting encounters. Every meeting with James grew increasingly intense and filled with longing. In the stillness of the night, I would find myself awake, reliving each tender caress, each soft murmur, questioning how we had arrived at this moment. It transcended the mere physical realm. James saw into my soul, grasping the depths of my heart like no one else ever could. He leaned in, captivated by my words as I shared my dreams, my fears, and the heartache of living in Victoria's shadow. He looked at me not as Victoria's daughter, not as someone shattered by past sorrows, but as the true essence of who I am. That kind of connection was utterly captivating. It awakened something deep within me, a sense of longing and desire that I had never experienced until now. Yet, it was equally exhilarating. Each moment spent in your presence was charged with the thrill of our secret, the unspoken dangers lurking just beneath the surface. The balance between what we felt and what was right was difficult to navigate. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the garden, I found myself alone with James, our hearts racing in the quiet of the twilight. Victoria had slipped away to meet friends, leaving the house wrapped in an unsettling quiet, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath in anticipation. James was nurturing the roses that Victoria adored, yet never took the time to tend to. I observed him from the patio, captivated by the way his hands danced with effortless grace, the contours of his face gently illuminated by the waning glow of dusk. Compelled by an unseen force, I moved closer to him, my heart pounding with an intensity I couldn't explain. His gaze met mine as I drew closer. His expression was a mystery, yet a spark in his eyes sent a thrill through me, leaving me breathless. As I extended my hand, our fingers barely touched, and time itself appeared to pause around us. He placed the shears aside, his eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my heart race. For a moment, we simply stood there, the silence between us charged with an intensity that was both exhilarating and agonizing. Then he reached for me, his hands resting softly on my waist as he drew me nearer. His lips brushed against mine in a gentle, lingering kiss, each motion infused with a softness that left me breathless and unsteady. The world around us blurred into nothingness, the fragrance of blooming roses intertwining with the heat of his caress. In that moment, it was as if everything else had faded away, leaving only the two of us in our own secret universe. We never truly addressed the unspoken tension between us, not in any meaningful way. There were no titles, no expectations, no vows. Yet an unspoken bond lingered between us, a quiet pact that whatever this connection was, it belonged solely to us. I started to cherish our shared moments, those instances when we could lower our defenses and just exist. Whether it was a fleeting brush of hands as we crossed paths, or a secret kiss in the stillness of the night, each encounter felt alive, electric, as if we were defying every unspoken boundary. Yet, as our connection grew stronger, so too did the peril that surrounded us. I began to observe the subtle nuances. Claire's lingering looks, her casual remarks about the moments James and I shared together. She remained blissfully unaware, yet a flicker of doubt lingered within me, as if she might sense the unspoken tension between us. One afternoon, as I immersed myself in my sketches, lost in a world of creativity, Claire entered the room, her presence igniting an unspoken tension that filled the air. Her gaze lingered on me, a magnetic pull that sent shivers down my spine. "You've been visiting more often these days," she remarked lightly, though a hint of tension lingered in her voice. I averted my eyes, my attention consumed by the pages of my sketchbook. It felt exhilarating to step beyond the confines of my apartment, I remarked with a hint of longing in my voice. Her silence spoke volumes, and the intensity of her gaze lingered in my mind long after she had walked away. Our hidden truth was bound to come to light one day. Claire was wrapped up in her own world, yet she couldn't ignore the whispers of fate that danced around her. One evening, as I was about to step outside, James lingered by the door, his presence igniting a spark in the air between us. Claire ascended the stairs, preparing herself for the evening's gathering, while the house enveloped itself in a serene silence, broken only by the gentle whisper of the air conditioner. James leaned in closer, his fingers grazing my hand, igniting a spark that coursed through me like electricity. "Drive safely," he whispered, his voice laced with an unspoken longing. I nodded, my heart racing as I stepped outside, but when I turned to close the door behind me, I caught a glimpse of Claire standing at the top of the stairs, her gaze a tantalizing mystery that stirred something deep within me. The days that followed were charged with a palpable tension, an unvoiced longing that lingered in the atmosphere. Claire's gaze lingered on me, a silent tension hanging in the air, as if she were daring me to falter, to reveal the secrets we both knew were better left unspoken. James and I treaded carefully, yet the connection we shared was undeniable. Then, one fateful night, the world around us shattered. "Do you really believe I'm oblivious to the tension between us?" Claire's voice was a whisper of tension as she drew me into the living room, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Her eyes flickered with a passion that ignited a fire within me, a fierce intensity that was both captivating and dangerous. Her silence spoke volumes, and I could sense that she had unraveled the truth. "Do you think I can't see?" she hissed, her words laced with a sharp intensity. I parted my lips, a hesitant breath escaping as unspoken words lingered in the air between us. To respond, yet silence enveloped me. What words could possibly capture this feeling? I never anticipated this turn of events, that I had surrendered my heart to the very one Claire had overlooked. James stepped into the room, his presence a soothing balm against the tumult that surrounded them, igniting a spark of something unspoken between them. He remained silent, yet the intensity of his gaze, filled with unspoken resolve, was enough to anchor my heart.